Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one of my canal series, specifically a late update here on the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals. Update number 15A. It's a shorter one, but I wanted to bring you up to speed with what's been happening lately with the latest announcements 2 weeks ago from Stroud District Council that happened on the 27th of February 2024, and the implications of that and what's going to be happening next. I'm currently here in the centre of Whitminster roundabout. It was constructed a few years ago. This is the other end of the missing mile. We'll be talking about the missing mile a lot in this video. The missing mile starts from here, going across fields there towards Easington and Pike Lock. So I hope you can join me again for this shorter update, bringing you up to speed what's been happening on the Cotswold Canals. On the 27th of February 2024, Stroud District Council made an announcement to state that planning permission had finally been approved for the missing mile. The missing mile is actually the section from here, Whitminster roundabout, which was constructed just a few years ago, under the A38, right over the fields there towards the M5, going under the M5 towards Easington, specifically Pike Lock. So that's the missing mile section, although there are other things that are happening in and around this area which I'll talk about later in today's video as well. Planning permission has been approved. It also means that planning permission has been approved for a marina as well, for mooring space just the other side of Westfield Lock, or John Robinson Lock, which we'll also have a look at later in the video because some work's been taking place there as well. There's also plans to build a 2-storey building which will incorporate a cafe, a visitor centre and accommodation for the manager looking after the mooring site there on the canal, as well as the canal going underneath the M5 and joining up with the section here. Now, just to recap, the reason it's called the missing mile is because the canal's route was completely lost and obliterated when the M5 was started construction in the late 1960s and completed in the early 1970s. That route can no longer be used for various reasons, so a new route's going to be constructed, striking out from Westfield Lock, heading across to the M5 and utilising the River Froomes Bridge going underneath the M5, and it'll be in a separate channel and then making its way across from the fields here, almost parallel to the River Frome, and joining up with this newer section here. Work will then also need to take place the other side of the camera from here in the direction of Saw Junction. Part of that route is still okay now because it utilises a section of the River Frome, and lots of dredging work are actually been taking place and more to be done. Now, the footpath behind the camera here is actually currently closed between here and Occupation Bridge because they're currently building in new, like hard standing areas to enable them to bring in heavier dredging equipment to completely dredge that section of the Stroudwater Canal in readiness for it being completely reopened. So I've just moved slightly away from Whitminster roundabout and, it is noisy here because of the A38, just to show you what needs to be done here. This isn't actually officially the missing mile section, but of course a lot of work needs to be done here to connect the canal up from Easington right through to Saw Junction and of course the rest of the UK canal network. Now, this was once the site of Whitminster Wharf and also Bristol Road Lock. There was a lock here close to the A38, but as part of a road widening scheme many, many years ago, the lock was completely obliterated and no trace of it currently remains. But there was a wharf here. I think I've got a photograph to show you what it used to look like when it was a wharf here. But you can see the extent of the problem. So you move away from that newer section underneath Whitminster roundabout, and you can see here it's completely covered in reeds. So all of this section here needs to be completely dredged. Further on though, towards Whitminster Lock, which I looked at one of my secrets of the Stroudwater series, when I was looking at Cambridge Canal, you'll notice there that the section there, which is in effect the River Frome as well, has been completely dredged and it's very clear. But there's still a lot of work to be do in this middle section before you get down to Whitminster Lock itself. I've just walked a few more metres towards the east from Whitminster roundabout, and here you can see some fencing. So partially the towpath is blocked here, And this is actually going to be the dredging compound to dredge this section of the Stroudwater Canal. So it's exciting times ahead. So lots of things happening along here. Many other things that need to be done. Stone Pits Bridge needs to be replaced. A new cut through needs to do to link the River Frome with the existing section of the Stroudwater. And of course, that aviation fuel pipeline replaced, which we've mentioned quite a few times now. I apologise, I was having to hold on to the tripod because it is extremely windy here today. I just wanted to talk to you briefly though about planning permission. As I say, it was granted a couple of weeks ago now, towards the end of February, on the 27th. Really exciting. I was absolutely delighted to hear that. Things have been very, very quiet for quite some time, and I know several of you have been asking me, both in the comments on the West Country Wanderings Facebook group, Paul, what's been happening with the planning? Well, I was in just as much dark as everybody else, including a lot of the volunteers that work for the Cotswold Canals Trust. So I was absolutely delighted with what appeared to be completely out of the blue. An announcement was made to say that planning had finally been approved. It had actually been taking place for well over 3 years. And if you actually look at the planning document, there's some 550 supporting documents to it. There were various objections which we won't go into now. There was loads and loads of surveys that needed to be done for various conservation agencies, for Highways England, Environment Agency, numerous obstacles to be overcome to enable that green tick to get this canal reconstructed right through to the network. But it is really, really exciting that that has now happened. So I've now moved around to Westfield Lock, or John Robinson Lock, and this is the first time I've been here in about, well, I think about 4 or 5 months. I'm really struck by the amount of work that's taken place since that time. It is quite extraordinary. One of the first things is when you approach the site, you notice how much clearance work has taken place. A lot of coppicing has been done. The footpath has been opened up, towpath should I say. So when you approach it now, you're really presented with just how much work has taken place here by the WRG and the Cotswold Canals volunteers over the past few months. Really is quite incredible. You can also see here how much brickwork, the lining, the walls of the lock has taken place. Really starting to take shape, and now you can see how this lock will be in use again. You can also see clearly what work needs to be done to cut through the canal to make its way further up and around to Dock Lock, where work has also taken place, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later in today's video. Now if I turn the camera around through 180 degrees, you can have a look and see what's happening on the other side from this humpback bridge standpoint. So I'm now looking towards the direction of the M5, and you can see that part of the route of the canal, where it's going to be, the missing mile, is started to be marked out with the cones there. Also just below, it's really difficult to show, but I'll insert an image now. Just below there, this little section down there, the other side of the bridge parapet, is in water and it's been cut through. That's as clear as I've seen that since the work here at Westfield Lock started. The work on the other side there, where you can see the greenery, that is the training pitches for Forest Green Rovers, and that was approved a little bit before the missing mile section was. But yeah, you can certainly see the way ahead, if you like. Now it's that way ahead going across the fields here to the M5, underneath the M5, and back to where we started the video, Whitminster Lock, that isn't all quite plain sailing. When the plans were formulated originally to do the restoration of the canal and link it up to Saw Junction, it was completely costed out and funded through the various council bodies and a large contribution from the National Lottery. But because of the delay in planning, as I say, it's taken about 4 years, and we've had the pandemic in the middle, costs for construction have absolutely gone through the roof. So unfortunately there's no money in the funding to actually get all this work done. Originally the plan was to employ contractors with their great big diggers to come along, dig it all out and get the canal in. It's not quite that straightforward anymore because there isn't sufficient money in the pot to enable that to happen. So that's where you come in. If you live locally, or even if you don't live locally, perhaps you can donate some money to the Cotswold Canals Trust to help them get the canal connected. or, as I say, if you live locally or able to travel, perhaps lending a hand. They need as much help as they can possibly get to turn this dream of connecting the Stroudwater Canal back up into the UK canal net into reality. It's an exciting project. I'm sure work's going to start soon. From what I've seen on the Cotswold Canals Trust website, it looks like construction properly will start probably towards the end of the summer, going into the autumn. And of course, I'll bring all that to you right here on West Country Wanderings. Now here at Westfield Lock / John Robinson Lock, work will continue. The WRG, the Waterways Recovery Group, have got a big summer camp to enable this work, hopefully to be completed this summer, just in time for the construction of the main body of the missing mile to take place at the end of the summer going into the autumn. So that's a really exciting project. It'll also bring the latest developments of what's happening with this lock to you here on the channel as well. So yeah, brilliant work by the WRG. They've done lots of work. I know they've been working on the Montgomery Canal, not in my area, but I remember seeing it when I was doing the Severn Way. They've been doing lots of work over there as well. So they do projects all over the country. Brilliant volunteers. They work really, really hard. So thank you, WRG, what you've done so far. But I say it'll be splendid to see this lock open and a really important part of the infrastructure to get this canal connected once again. So that's really exciting to see. And I say, I can't believe just how much work has been done in the past few months, which was, of course, over what has been a truly horrendous and wet winter as well. Now, the other thing that struck me the first time, as I say, I visited for 4 or 5 months here, I think the wet weather put me off thinking about how boggy conditions were, and it is still quite boggy here at the moment, is how much clearance has taken place here. We've now got really an open view. So Dock Lock is just a little bit further along there. We'll have a closer look at that in a second. And you can see right down to Pike Lock Bridge, which carries the Easington Road connecting up to the 419 and the Junction 13, the M5. Never been able to have seen that view before. It's a complete clear view right down this section of the Stroudwater Canal. But it also highlights just how much dredging work, like we've seen previously, the other side of Whitminster Bridge earlier in the video, has to take place here as well. But it's brilliant in terms of the state of the footpath, and also it gives you a clear idea of what work still needs to be achieved. So this is Dock Lock, and again a lot of work has already started to take place here. Not as much as heavy construction work as what we've just seen at Westfield / John Robinson Lock, but certainly preparatory work to enable further work to be replaced. Obviously lock gates will need to be put in here as well. But they started to clear it. Looks like some of the steps going up the side of the lock have been cleared. That's the first time I've seen those in a very, well, I've never seen them before, so only from old photographs. So it's really, really good to see that. And again, tremendous efforts by the Cotswold Canals Trust volunteers. Absolutely sterling work. So that's a bit of a closer up view there. You can see some pointing masonry work has been done on the steps of Dock Lock there. Just the other side here, just to point out, probably just slightly out of shot, is actually the Western Depot at the Cotswold Canals Trust. Remember, in the last time I showed you the new Eastern Depot in the eastern part of the Cotswold Canals Trust land, not far from, was it Latin, isn't it? That was a new one. Lots of work has taken place at the Western Depot, and that of course is the main central hub of operations, if you like, to enable the missing mile to completely be reconstructed and get that connection in, as well as all these other projects at Westfield and Dock Lock and all the other things that need to happen as well. So it's a major important hub right here at Easington. Absolutely fantastic work. I hope you've enjoyed this shorter update, but just to bring you up to speed what's happening since that planning announcement 2 weeks. It's really, really exciting. I will be bringing you a longer update towards the end of the summer, in the autumn, once construction starts. And I'll give you a roundup of all the other news from the Cotswold Canals Trust in that update as well, that longer one. In the meantime, on the channel there'll also be continuation of my Secrets of the Stroudwater series and Secrets of the Thames and Severn Canal series. I'm also planning another canal series one on the Wilts and Berks Canal, the sister trust to the Cotswold Canals Trust nearby. So we're having a look at that, and probably a couple of other canals in the wider West Country Wanderings region. I hope you enjoyed it today, bring you up to speed what's happening. Until then, take care. All the best now. Bye-bye.